My parents gave my twin sister a trip to Hawaii as a graduation gift while leaving me home alone. But during their absence, someone delivered a $50,000 check to me. Now my sister is throwing a tantrum. To give some context, a few weeks ago, my sister Alex and I graduated from high school and will be heading to college in the fall. Alex has always been academically better than me. Books don't interest me much. I'm more into sports. Recently, I earned a scholarship, which I think is a pretty big deal. However, my parents only seemed to care that Alex was the valedictorian. To celebrate, they took her to Hawaii, while all I got was a congratulations card. Now they expect me to share the $50,000 gift I received from another family member with Alex, because she's upset. The day after graduation, my parents asked Alex what she wanted as a gift. They promised to get her whatever she wanted. This conversation happened right in front of me, and they didn't bother asking me what I wanted. That wasn't surprising. They've always favored Alex. After thinking for a few minutes, Alex said she wanted a trip to Hawaii with a few of her friends as her gift. My parents immediately agreed. She went to her room to celebrate and tell her friends. While she was upstairs, I asked my parents if I was going with them. I wasn't sure, since our family vacations usually include me. But since this was Alex's gift, I wasn't certain if I'd be included or even welcome. Alex doesn't like me much, and I'm okay with that. I'm not a big fan of her either. Alex is spoiled, rude, and disrespectful to almost everyone. None of our classmates like her except her clique of friends who are just as bad as she is. Anyway, when I asked if I could go, my parents hesitated. That's when I knew the answer was no. They were probably just figuring out how to break the news. A few moments later, my mom told me that it wouldn't be fair for me to go since this was Alex's gift. She explained that bringing me would turn it into a family vacation. I pointed out that they were going with her, but they brushed it off, saying they were only going because Alex wanted them there. They were also sure Alex wouldn't want me around, as they knew we didn't get along. After that, there wasn't much else to say, so I went back to my room. I felt bad for myself. Even though I haven't achieved much academically, I thought earning a football scholarship was worth celebrating. But my parents didn't seem to care about me or my accomplishments. On top of that, they were leaving me alone for an entire week while Alex partied in Hawaii with her friends. For a day, I was miserable. Then I realized that having the house to myself for a week meant freedom. I could do whatever I wanted. That thought cheered me up, and I decided to make the best of the situation. While my family packed for their trip, I felt invisible, as if they had completely forgotten about me. It wasn't a new feeling, but it still hurt. On the day they left, my parents told me to take good care of the house and at least said goodbye. Alex, on the other hand, didn't even look at me. She just laughed. Typical behavior for her, so it didn't surprise me. The first few days were great. I invited friends over, we played video games, ate junk food, and did whatever we wanted from morning until they had to leave in the evening. That was my plan for the whole week. On the final day, I planned to invite my friends over again, but around 8 a.m. the doorbell rang. It was far too early for my friends to show up, and I was still half asleep since I'd been staying up late ever until graduating high school. When I went downstairs and looked out the window, I was surprised to see someone who looked a lot like my mom standing there. It took me a moment to remind myself that my mom wasn't even in town. She was in Hawaii with the rest of my family. Then I noticed some differences. This woman was taller, appeared younger, and had blonde highlights in her hair, something my mom would never do. That's when I realized it wasn't her, but someone who looked eerily similar. After staring at her for a while, I decided to open the door. If she looked that much like my mom, she must be a relative. The woman introduced herself as my mom's cousin and explained that she'd been living in the UK for the past 20 years, which is why I'd never met her before. As far as I knew, my mom was an only child and didn't have siblings. This woman looked just a couple of years younger than my mom, so I guessed she could be a cousin. But the resemblance was uncanny, and I couldn't recall my mom ever mentioning a cousin from the UK. Then again, I don't talk to my mom much about her family anyway. I invited her in, but I made sure to confirm she was here to see me and my sister. That surprised me because I couldn't imagine why she'd want to see either of us. I explained that I was home alone since my family had gone to Hawaii for my sister's graduation. She looked upset when I said that and asked where the rest of the family was. I decided to be honest because she seemed trustworthy. I told her everything, including how my family had left me home alone to celebrate my sister's graduation, even though I graduated at the same time. She seemed shocked and sorry for me. I tried not to make it sound like I was complaining since I didn't want my mom to yell at me for sharing family secrets with her cousin when they got back. The woman expressed how sorry she was and said she understood how I felt. Then she surprised me by saying she wanted to give me a gift. She pulled out her checkbook and told me to write in the amount. I was stunned. This had never happened to me before, so I told her I couldn't accept money from her. It just didn't feel right. We went back and forth for a few minutes, but she eventually said she'd decide the amount and wrote me a check for $50,000. I was in disbelief and insisted I couldn't accept such a large amount, but she refused to take no for an answer. She said it was the least she could do for me. Honestly, I still don't know what she meant by that, but in the end, she forced me to accept it. We talked a little about my family, but it was clear her mind was elsewhere. She seemed distracted and wasn't fully listening. After about 30 minutes, she said she had to leave but hoped to see me again soon. Once she was gone, I realized how strange the meeting had been. Her behavior was unsettling, and I couldn't shake the feeling she might have been lying about being my mom's cousin. The resemblance between them was too strong to ignore. I started to think she might be my mom's sister, someone my mom had kept secret from us. I know that sounds crazy, and I don't want to seem like a conspiracy theorist, but I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this story. However, here's where I messed up. The check was made out to me, but I'd never dealt with a check before in my life. I didn't know if it was even real or if it was some kind of joke. My friends and I are used to paying for everything through apps, so checks feel outdated, like something from my parents' generation. I left the check on the coffee table under a pile of mail that had arrived for my parents during the week. Later, my friends came over, and we had a small gathering with a couple of other people. We talked about the check, but it was as strange to them as it was to me. I ended up putting it back where it was. The next morning, my family returned from their trip to Hawaii in good spirits, except for me, of course. My parents started going through the mail and found the check at the bottom of the pile. My dad immediately started asking a bunch of questions, which I get. If someone writes your kid a $50,000 check, you'd want to know what's going on, too. Once they saw it, I knew there was no point in hiding anything. I explained everything, the woman who visited, our conversation, and how she insisted on writing me that check. She said it was for me to use, and I planned to deposit it soon. While I was explaining this, I noticed my parents looked increasingly nervous. Not exaggerating, they'd just come back from Hawaii all tan, but as I talked, they went pale and sweaty. It was obvious something was wrong. I was about to ask my mom who this woman was, some cousin from the UK apparently, because they were clearly hiding something. But before I could, my spoiled sister derailed the conversation. She couldn't stand not being the center of attention, so she started complaining that the check was made out to only me. She said I should have asked that woman to make it out to both of us. I told her the woman knew about both of us and purposely wrote the check just for me. I tried to get the conversation back on track with my parents, but my sister kept pushing. Then my parents jumped in, encouraging her to argue with me instead. It was clear they wanted to change the subject, and it worked. My sister started yelling, saying it was unfair and demanding I split the money with her. That got my attention, and I told her there was no way I'd share it. She'd already had her gift, a trip to Hawaii with her friends. and this was mine. I wasn't obligated to share it, just like she hadn't shared her trip with me. I thought that was fair, but my parents sided with her, saying the woman had probably meant for the money to be for both of us. They accused me of playing the victim in front of her, making her pity me and write the check. My sister, of course, believed them, but I didn't need to play the victim. I was already one, a victim of this awful family. I didn't know if the woman wrote the check out of pity or not, but it was made out to me and I wasn't sharing. That led to a massive fight. My parents kept pushing my sister to demand the money, and she didn't seem smart enough to realize they were just trying to distract us from thinking about the woman. Finally, my mom told me I couldn't stay in their house if I refused to share the money. That's when I lost it. I started screaming, something I usually avoid because I don't want to stoop to their level. But I couldn't help it. I told them I knew my rights and wasn't going anywhere. And I wasn't sharing the money. Honestly, I'm not even sure what the laws are about this. But after my outburst, I doubt they'll try to kick me out soon. I also called them out for being liars and accused them of hiding something about that woman. I couldn't believe they were trying to make us fight just to distract us. Afterward, I stormed to my room, threw a bunch of stuff around, and eventually calmed down. Since then, no one in the house has spoken to me. Even at meals, my mom just leaves my food and walks away without saying a word. I feel like a prisoner in my own home. Last night, I wanted to leave. The only person who's spoken to me is my sister, but even that was self-centered. This morning she came to my room and said all this could have been avoided if I'd just agreed to split the money and stopped asking questions about our aunt. She said it was obvious our parents didn't want to talk about her. Now, I feel like I've dug myself into a hole. After she left, I started questioning everything. Maybe I'm overthinking the situation with my aunt, but their reaction was so suspicious. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Should I cash the check and leave? Should I try to find my aunt? Confronting my parents seems pointless. I doubt they'd tell me anything useful. Update 1. First of all, thank you so much for all the responses and comments on my post. I never imagined so many people would take the time to give me advice on such a situation. It's comforting to know that there are others like me out there, people whose own families don't want them. So, thank you for that. I realize my original post might have been a little confusing. Honestly, I blame it on the situation I'm in. Anyway, I'll try to keep things short and clear this time. First and foremost, I've decided to move out of my parents' house. I've thought about it a lot. This is what they want, and it's definitely what I want too. I never moved out before because I thought it would be taking things too far, but this time, they're the ones who've gone too far. I've never had a good relationship with them or my sister, so I see no point in staying. I've decided to live with a friend until college starts. His parents kindly offered to let me stay with them for free, even though I offered to pay rent. His dad is even helping me with the check as I need to open a bank account to deposit it. He confirmed the check is legitimate and not a joke. The plan is to leave. And, of course, I'm keeping all the money. The check is made out solely to me, and I'm not obligated to share it with anyone, especially not my sister. If they hadn't left me home alone while they went on vacation, I probably wouldn't have met my aunt or received this money, so in a way it's their doing. My sister has never treated me with kindness or respect, so it's foolish of her to expect me to share the money now. I'm sure my parents will always take care of her. The same can't be said for me, so I definitely need this money more than she does. They've never cared about me, and it's okay for me to act the same way toward them. It's been 3 days since my post, and I've been packing everything. Tomorrow afternoon, my friend's dad will come with his truck, and I'll be leaving. I'm genuinely excited to go. Update 2. So much has changed in my life since my last update. It's crazy to think it's only been 4 days. I don't even know where to start, but I guess the best place is where I left off. I said I was moving out of my parents' house, and I did. The day after that post, My friend's dad came to pick me up and helped me move all my stuff. I didn't take any furniture, just a bunch of boxes. My parents saw everything happening but didn't ask questions. My sister, Alex, didn't even bother coming out of her room. She looked once, saw what was happening, and went back inside. After moving the last box, I was about to leave without saying goodbye. I was sure no one cared, but before I could walk out the door, my mom stopped me and asked where I was going. I told her that no one in the family had spoken to me in days, and they acted like I didn't exist. Now they wouldn't have to pretend anymore because I was moving out. It shouldn't be a surprise to them, since she herself had said that if I didn't share the money with my sister, I wouldn't have a place in the house. Since I'd decided not to share the money, I thought it was better to leave on my own instead of being kicked out. My parents called me stupid and said I'd realize how arrogant I was once I figured out that $50,000 wasn't enough to live on my own. I ignored them and left. They didn't try to stop me. My friend's dad was surprisingly more understanding than my own parents. On the way to their house, he told me everything was going to be fine. Once we got there, they set me up in the guest room, where I've been staying since. My friend has always been a great person, and his family is the same. They're kind, and being around them makes me realize this is how families are supposed to be. I'm happy to live with them until I leave for college. But that's not all that happened in the last few days. I also found out the truth about our visitor, and I'm still struggling to accept it. I think I mentioned before that the woman who visited us looked uncannily like my mom. I already suspected she might be a sister we didn't know about. I was right. Last night she contacted me through social media and told me a lot of things I don't know how to process. Apparently she's my mom's younger sister, but she was kicked out of the family because she got pregnant at 19. You can probably guess who her kids are: Alex and me. Since she was in college, her parents forced her to give us up for adoption. Around the same time, my parents had been trying to have a baby but were struggling. After a family meeting, it was decided that my parents would adopt us. The problem was, my parents only wanted one child, and specifically wanted a girl. My biological mom insisted we wouldn't be separated, so my grandparents convinced my parents to adopt us both. For the first few months after the adoption, my biological mom kept visiting us. But eventually, my mom said she didn't want her around anymore. She claimed it would confuse us to have two mother figures while growing up, and said it would be best for her to stay away. This led to a huge fight, and they didn't speak for years. My biological mom reconnected with her parents earlier this year, and they gave her our address. That's how she visited us. Alex and I are 18 now, so she thought it was the perfect time to build a relationship with us and eventually tell us the truth. But after meeting us and seeing how my family treats me, she realized she made a mistake allowing my mom to adopt her kids. It's clear my mom accepted Alex, but not me. She felt responsible for that and contacted me to tell me the truth because no one else would. It's been hours since I read her message, and I still don't know how to process it. I haven't told anyone, not even my friend. Writing this down has helped me say it out loud, but I still don't know what to do. I haven't replied to her yet, though she can see I've read it. I guess this explains a lot, but I don't even know how to feel anymore. I'm just numb, confused, and lost. Still, it's not like the world has stopped turning because of this revelation, and eventually I'll have to deal with it. I just don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out. I'm sure the comments here will be helpful. Update 3. It's been 2 weeks since I received that message from my biological aunt, or should I say mother. To be honest, I'm still not sure what to call her. She introduced herself as my aunt, but now suddenly, she's my mother. Oddly enough, she's already shown herself to be a better mother than the one who raised me. I took my time responding to her message and only replied 3 days ago. I told her that there was a lot to talk about, so I'd prefer to meet in person. I also said I was open to having a relationship with her. I've already lost the family I thought I had, so it wouldn't hurt to give her a chance. Everyone makes mistakes, and hers was made at 19. I can't judge her for that. I haven't told Alex about this yet, because I don't think it's my place. I believe our biological mother should be the one to tell her. Whether she does or not, I don't know. All I know is that I'm meeting her in a few days, and we're going to try to mend our relationship. She's here to stay and won't be leaving again. I'm a little excited about it and just hope everything goes well. Update 4. It's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and about a week since I met my biological mother. I didn't write sooner because I've been thinking about everything and processing it all. I still haven't cashed the check yet since I don't need the money at the moment, but I will soon. I'll share more about that later. First, the meeting with my biological mom went very well. We talked about a lot of things, including her decision to give me up for adoption. I won't say I completely understand it, but at the same time, I think it might have been the best choice she could make at the time. Not for me, considering what I went through with my adoptive parents, but she couldn't have known that. It's not like my adoptive mom was cruel to me as a child. She just wanted a daughter, and our relationship was distant. She didn't treat me terribly, at least not compared to what I've read from other people, some of whose parents did awful things to them. I was never without food, and I wasn't physically or verbally abused. She just didn't love me as much as she loved Alex. I'm not excusing it because it's still horrible to treat a child like that. But I don't know what my life would have been like with my biological mom either. To explain, here's a bit about her and the circumstances when she gave us up. At the time, she was dating someone. It wasn't serious to him, but I think it was to her. Either way, my biological father didn't want us. He asked her to get an abortion. Just that alone is enough for me to never want to contact him. I haven't thought much about him, honestly. My biological mom wanted to keep us, even if it meant being a single mom. At first, she thought she was only having one baby, which was already difficult since she was in college. But then she found out she was having twins, which made things even harder. By then, my biological father had broken up with her and dropped out of college. I have no idea what happened to him or if he's even alive. My grandparents didn't want her to leave college to raise us. Her plan was to drop out, find a job, and raise us with some help from them. But they refused to help unless she agreed to give us up for adoption. That's when my adoptive parents entered the picture, and everything else I've already shared happened. After giving us up, she finished college and found work in her field, which has good opportunities in the UK. She moved there, partly because it was too painful to stay close to us while being unable to see us. Now she's back. She took a job as a professor at a university, not the one I'll attend, but she plans to stay in the country. That's good because I can visit her, or she can come see me. I don't like the fact that I was given up for adoption, but I understand it. The news of twins for a single mother in her situation must have been like a nuclear bomb. If raising one baby alone was already a challenge, I can't imagine how hard it would have been to raise two. So, I'm not angry at her. Or at least I'm trying not to be. There's no manual for how to handle something like this. As for Alex, she doesn't know anything yet. At least not unless our parents told her. My biological mom plans to tell her eventually. About the $50,000. My biological mom sold her house in the UK. Since the university where she works provides housing, part of the proceeds was meant to be a gift for Alex and me. However, when she visited and saw how I was being treated, she decided to make the check out solely to me. Here's the content translated smoothly into clear, concise American English. Regarding the $50,000, my biological mom sold her house in the UK. Since the university where she works provides housing, part of that money was intended as a gift for Alex and me. However, after seeing how I was treated that day, she decided to make the check out solely to me. I've already deposited the money into an account I opened and plan to use it for college. I have a partial scholarship, so this money will be incredibly helpful. My biological mom also said she'd help with extra expenses, so I'll try to save as much of the money as I can. It could even serve as a down payment on a house someday or something similar. If there's anything else to update, I'll let you know in my next post.